everyone, today I'm going to tell the story about Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time there was a little girl who lived near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red cloak. Whenever she was out in the forest or just out and about, everyone would call her Little Red Riding Hood. So one morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go visit her grandmother, as if it had been a while since she'd seen her grandmother. "That's a great idea," her mother said. So they decided to fix a nice basket with food in it for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. "Remember, go straight to Grandma's house," Mother cautioned. "Don't wander around, don't talk to strangers." "Okay, Mommy," said Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll be careful." But when the Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers as she was walking in the woods, she forgot her promise. She promised to her mom. She picked a few flowers and she looked at the butterflies and even kind of played with the frogs. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer day as much as she could, but then noticed it was suddenly starting to get dark. So out of the forest behind her, it was a voice that said, "What are you doing out here, little girl?" the wolf asked in his friendly voice. "I'm on my way to see my grandmother, who lives through the forest near the brook," Little Red Riding Hood replied. Then she realized how late it was getting quickly and excused herself, rushing down the path to her grandmother's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. The wolf was out of breath from running and arrived to Grandma's house and knocked lightly on the door. "Thank you. Goodness, dear. Come on in. I was worried sick. Something happened to you from the forest," Grandma said, thinking the knock was the granddaughter. The wolf let himself in. Poor Granny did not have time to say another word before the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf let out a satisfying burp and picked through Granny's wardrobe, found a nice nightgown he liked and frilly sleeping cap, and for good measure, dabbed some of Grandmother's perfume and put on his pointy ears. A few minutes later, Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped in the bed and pulled the covers over his nose. "Who is it?" he asked in a crackly voice. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "Oh, how lovely." "Do come in, my dear," croaked the wolf. The Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage. She could notice something was really different with her grandmother. "Your voice sounds odd. Is something the matter?" she asked. "Oh, I just have a touch of a cold," squeak of the wolf, adding a cough to prove a point. "But Grandmother, what big ears you have," said the Little Red Riding Hood. She said, closer on the end of the bed. "The bigger they are, the better I can hear you," replied the wolf. "But Grandmother, what big eyes you have," said the Little Red Riding Hood. "The bigger to see you, my dear," replied the wolf. "But Grandmother, what big teeth you have," said little girl Red Riding Hood, her voice quivering. "To better eat you, my dear," roared the wolf, and he leaped out of the bed and began to chase the little girl. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realized that the person in the bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room and through the door, shouting, "Help! Wolf! as loud as she could. A woodsman who was chopping logs nearby heard the cry and ran across the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out the poor grandmother, who was a bit frazzled by the whole experience, but still in one piece. "Oh, Grandma, I was so scared," sobbed the little girl. "I'll never speak to strangers in the forest again." That was my story of the Little Red Riding Hood. Thank you.